German tank crews believed the Tiger I was invulnerable on the Normandy front. They were wrong. On June 13, 1944, at Villers-Bocage, British forces fielded an adapted Sherman variant, the Firefly. The German Panzer VI Tiger, with 120 mm of frontal armor, had previously survived direct engagements with standard Allied tanks. Obersturmführer Michael Wittmann's crew had destroyed 14 British tanks in a single action with their 88 mm KW K-36 gun weeks earlier. Confidence among German crews was high, reinforced by intelligence estimating Allied tank firepower at under 90 mm of penetration and even less at range. But these calculations missed a critical development. June 13, 1944, 0900 hours. Major John M. A. Tweedy ordered his 4th County of London Yeomanry to establish defensive positions along the eastern approach to Villers-Bocage 230 meters from the N316 highway, southwest of Caen. Tweedy had directed a squadron, reinforced with 4 Sherman Fireflies, 10 standard M4 Shermans, and 2 Cromwell tanks, to block anticipated German armor movements. Opposing them, SS Obersturmführer Michael Wittmann commanded 5 Tiger I tanks of the 2nd Company, Schwer SS Panzerabteilung 101, deployed along Route National 175. German defenses included Tiger Is with 88 mm KWK 36 L56 guns, 120 mm hull frontal armor, and integral MG 34 machine guns. Infantry elements of Panzer Lehr participated, supported by Est. KFC, 251 half-tracks equipped with 7.92 mm MG-42s. The British expected the Tigers to advance directly down the highway, relying on their superior armor and firepower at engagement distances over 800 meters. British assessments suggested the 75 mm Sherman and 57 mm Cromwell guns could not penetrate German frontal armor at those ranges. However, field reports from June 11 indicated at least 2 Tiger tanks had been immobilized the prior week by flank shots from 6-pounder anti-tank guns at less than 400 meters. One overlooked factor shifted the tactical equation. The newly arrived Sherman Firefly, armed with the British 17-pounder and anti-tank gun, delivering 150 mm penetration at 1,000 meters with a PCBC rounds. The Firefly's longer barrel and reconfigured turret required a partial internal redesign, impacting crew reload speed but drastically increasing combat effectiveness against heavy German armor. Intelligence from ultra-decrypts received on June 12 identified Wittmann's unit as advancing on Villers-Bocage, but failed to indicate the precise time of arrival, leaving British armor with limited warning. Villers-Bocage itself featured narrow streets, as little as 4 meters, stone buildings, and hilly approaches with summer haze reducing visibility to 900 meters for both gunners and scouts. What happened in the next 4 hours would determine the fate of German armored dominance on this sector of the Normandy front. At 09:15 hours, elements of the 4th County of London Yeomanry, including 4 Sherman Fireflies under Lieutenant James Harris, moved into concealed positions northeast of Villers-Bocage. Each Firefly, operated by a 5-man crew, loaded 17-pounder AP rounds weighing 7.2 kilograms each. Infantry detachments of the Rifle Brigade deployed with Lee-Enfield rifles, Bren LMGs, and PIAT launchers. The hedgerows bordering the approach measured up to 2 meters high, offering partial visual cover. At 09:23 hours, SS Obersturmführer Michael Wittmann advanced his lead Tiger I along Route National 175, supported by 3 further Tigers. Machine guns swept suspected ambush points at up to 1,200 rounds per minute. The P shell loadout for Wittmann's Tiger included 39 rounds, with the KWK 36 L56 able to penetrate 102 mm at 2,000 meters. An estimated 200 meters separated the German lead from the nearest Allied tank position. At 09:30 hours, Lieutenant Harris reported to Major Tweedy that 1 Tiger had exposed its flank, attempting to bypass a disabled lorry. Communications with Yeomanry headquarters briefly failed due to a damaged radio antenna on Firefly C Squadron. This caused a 3-minute delay in relaying sighting reports back to command, impacting the speed of supporting Cromwell response. At 09:36 hours, Captain Richard Coulthard Jenkins, British intelligence officer at brigade headquarters, received ultra-intercepts confirming German Tigers had been observed near Ektat, 4 kilometers west. The message indicated a possible flanking maneuver, forcing the repositioning of anti-tank assets. Panzer radio operator Obergefreiter Karl Bach at point position reported sighting enemy turreted vehicles at grid square 275-413. He was unaware that Firefly tanks could now engage his Tiger frontally at up to 900 meters. Summer temperatures at 18 degrees Celsius, with haze limiting visibility to under 900 meters, directly hampered Allied spotting capacity. At 0940 hours, the first 17-pounder round from C Squadron Firefly struck Whitman's Tiger from 800 meters, striking the hull and penetrating the main compartment. The Firefly's 3,700-foot-second muzzle velocity outmatched the Tiger's armor rating at that angle, causing catastrophic internal damage. Major Tweedy ordered a general advance of all available tanks in a bid to exploit the breach, unaware that more German armor was now converging from the southwest. By 0945 hours, 2 Tigers were destroyed, 3 burning, and the remaining German armored force was forced to halt its advance near the town center. But at 0946 hours, a coordinated German artillery response began a development that would prove decisive for both sides' next moves. At 0946 hours, Lieutenant Robert Calloway, signals officer for the 4th County of London Yeomanry, noticed a sudden spike in German artillery coordination, traced to intercepted transmissions on the 4. 5 MHz band from the Schwer SS Panzerabteilung 101. His wireless set, number 19 MKII, picked up coded orders for fire adjustment correlating with precise fallback maneuvers from German tank crews. Within 6 minutes, Calloway logged 4 separate requests for HE barrages targeting British tank coordinates east of Villers-Bocage, each referencing map grid 274-416 and synchronized to both Nebelwerfer and 10.5 centimeters La. FH-1840 batteries. The range accuracy was identified to within 35 meters in field notes. Tactically, this meant the Germans were leveraging their remaining artillery assets for a coordinated withdrawal, not counterattack, contrary to Allied supposition. Previous encounters showed artillery was rarely used to mask armored retreat, particularly by elite SS units, whose doctrine stressed offensive resilience. Yet now, the systematic fire orders and their precision disrupted the British advance, halting a squadron temporarily. Calloway immediately relayed the decoded coordinates and timing to Major Tweedy via runner and encrypted radio, compressing the usual communications lag from 7 minutes to less than 3, according to the after-action logarithms. Colonel Lionel Wigram, attached as tactical advisor to the 22nd Armored Brigade, promptly instructed C Squadron's Fireflies to reposition along the N316's northern hedgerow, exploiting the lag in German forward movement. Recognizing German artillery adjustment meant their Tiger remnant was retreating. Colonel Wigram coordinated the rapid displacement of 3 Fireflies and ordered a supporting infantry push. Over the next 12 minutes, 9 Sherman tanks and 2 rifle sections advanced 300 meters. Exploiting the operational pause and targeting, identified fallback routes with 3-inch mortar fire and PIAT teams. On the German side, Obersturmführer Whitman's surviving radio operator, Obergefreiter Karl Bach of Tiger 231, reported increasing radio silence from platoon leaders after 0948 hours. Transmissions requesting smoke cover and suppressive fire went unanswered past grid reference 270-415. Battalion Command, Hauptsturmführer Helmut Wendorf, attempted to redirect half-track reserves using Fu G5 shortwave sets, but signal congestion and direct British fire on communication vehicles led to a fragmented picture. By 0952 hours, command interlocks failed. Only 2 of 5 Tigers reported status, and Wendorf's operations log records Führung nicht mehr möglich command no longer possible. By 09:55 hours, disruption of German artillery control was noted from Echtach to Villers-Bocage. 4 additional British Company's 22nd Dragoons, 1st Rifle Brigade, and 2 batteries from the 73rd Anti-Tank Regiment reported simultaneous cessation of observed German counter-battery fire. This shift allowed coordinated Allied advances across 3 loci: routes N175, west approach to Echtach, and Villers-Bocage rail spur. Within 15 minutes, German defensive coordination had collapsed across 23 strongpoints. The German Tiger I heavy tank, designated Panzerkampfwagen VI Ausführung E Est, KFC 181, was engineered for maximum battlefield survivability. With its Krupp-constructed frontal hull armor rated at 120 mm thickness, and a mantlet exceeding 100 mm, the Tiger's defensive profile theoretically defeated most Allied anti-tank rounds under standard conditions defined by CABT testing as 30-degree deflection at 1,000 meters. Its main armament, the 88 mm KWK 36L56, fired armor-piercing shells with a muzzle velocity of 810 meters s. However, the Tiger's radio suite, specifically the Fu G5 set, became vulnerable once exposed to concentrated high-explosive and small arms fire signal strength, degraded by over 60% when antennae were damaged or networks congested in urban terrain. Technical reports from Kummersdorf proving grounds in 1942 had not included urban retreat scenarios under combined artillery and radio jamming, leaving resilience to these factors unproven. Additional technical failures included limitations of the Nebelwerfer 41 cruise, line-of-sight targeting in haze, suboptimal battery dispersal, spacing under 60 meters rather than 150, and the Do-17 radio intercept team's inability to reroute field orders under fire. The decision to integrate coordinated withdrawal artillery masking was made by Hauptsturmführer Helmut Wendorf at 09:44 hours. Informed by ultra-decrypted intelligence suggesting incoming British reinforcements. Intelligence file Der Feindlagebericht No. 132, dated June 12, indicated British firepower had improved, but underestimated the 17-pounder's effect at over 800 meters. By contrast, in the earlier Battle of Villers-Bocage, German control networks remained functional, allowing all 5 Tigers to withdraw in formation, a difference attributed to undisrupted communications and no Allied radio intercepts. Here, compromised radio links, British radio eavesdropping, and anti-tank weapons negated those advantages. According to Heer Richtlinie 47A, German armored doctrine called for fallback only when control could be sustained. Today, smoke and artillery cover failed to restore command due to direct equipment losses and disrupted signals. Captured War Diary excerpts from Schwer SS Panzerabteilung 101 reveal that at 09:57 hours, Funkstill in Führungsstaffel, radio silence in command staff, was reported. Whitman's June 14 after-action note, seized by British intelligence, confirmed Funkübermittlung gestört durch Feindführer und Eigenartillerie, radio transmission disrupted by enemy fire and own artillery. Post-war statements from Hauptsturmführer Wendorf echo this, citing 5 equipment losses to direct fire and 2 further radios disabled by shell concussion. War Office analysis compared British advances here and at point 213. Here, a 34% faster advance was achieved, 290 meters in 15 minutes versus 190 meters elsewhere, attributed directly to Tiger command breakdown. Ultra decrypts, Bundesarchiv BAMA RH 1033, and 22nd Armored Brigade War Diaries all corroborate the communication failure hypothesis. A squadron, 4th County of London Yeomanry, under Major John M. A. Tweedy, immediately pressed forward at 09:58 hours. Within 17 minutes, the British advance covered 380 meters, an increase from the previous pace of 60 meters per 15 minutes. 23 German crewmen from 3 disabled Tigers were captured as a direct result of the communications breakdown, with 9 wounded and evacuated to divisional aid posts. This enabled British elements to secure Villers-Bocage's northern junction, a critical tactical pivot, previously considered unreachable before the collapse of German fire coordination. Simultaneously, two Sherman sections moved to intercept German infantry attempting to regroup south of the church, while mortars shifted fire from suppression to interdiction of suspected artillery observers. At brigade headquarters, Colonel Fitzroy McLean received intelligence updates at 10:03 hours, instantly ordering 4th County of London Yeomanry to pivot 2 squadrons toward Ectot, affecting 612 troops deployed over a 2-kilometer sector. The revised order shifted emphasis from direct pursuit to blocking potential German reinforcement corridors. This required redeployment of 13 M4 Sherman tanks and 2 anti-tank platoons eastward, a complex maneuver carried out within 11 minutes, according to radio logs. Lieutenant Colonel George Plummer of the 73rd Anti-Tank Regiment recalibrated his 6-pounder positions north by 25 degrees to cover the expected approach. By 10:40 hours, Allied units held Villers-Bocage Center. German armored resistance was delayed 38 minutes past original estimates. Projected British casualties for the period had been 71 KIA/WIA, but recorded losses were 41, a reduction of 42%. Operation Perch thus advanced its timetable by nearly an hour, strengthening the subsequent British armored sweep toward Caen. British intelligence would later assess that these developments prevented up to 170 additional casualties and accelerated the drive to Mont-Pinçon by 2 full days. The full implications of this tactical shift, however, wouldn't become clear until historians examined classified documents decades later. Documents recovered in 2002 revealed a field diary from Corporal Arthur Mathers, Loader, 4th County of London Yeomanry, who described his tank's experience at Villers-Bocage. Mathers wrote on June 13, 1944, "Smoke everywhere, saw a Tiger turn, turret jammed, driver unresponsive. We held our fire, orders unclear." His account contradicted the sanitized after-action summary, which stated all Tigers were destroyed by direct engagement. The discrepancy occurred because Mathers' tank encountered a Tiger already immobilized by artillery, not tank fire, a detail lost through wartime censorship until the Imperial War Museum acquired Mathers' diary collection in 2002. Supply records from 4th County of London Yeomanry's quartermaster, logged on June 14, 1944, show the unit received only 60% of allocated 17-pounder AP rounds before Villers-Bocage. The quartermaster, Captain Reginald Summers, recorded only 71 rounds on hand for 4 Fireflies, with an official allotment of 120. This 41% ammunition shortfall limited the Fireflies to short, controlled bursts and prevented prolonged firefights. Though Summers reported the shortage to brigade headquarters, the urgency was downplayed due to competing artillery resupply demands. This left British armor vulnerable to a counterattack, making each Firefly shot a calculated risk. The June 14, 1944 after-action report for the 7th Armored Division claimed 7 Tigers knocked out for 8 British tanks lost. Yet, German Panzerabteilung 101 loss records from June 15 list only 3 Tigers as destroyed, with 2 later recovered and repaired. Medical records from 22nd Armored Brigade documented 43 British casualties, significantly lower than the official estimate of 69. British historian David French's 1994 research, using captured Wehrmacht returns, showed the overreporting was due to both battlefield confusion and efforts to boost morale in home and Allied headquarters communiques. While tactical plans prioritized flanking attacks through the eastern sector, British tankers in the town center faced bottlenecked retreats as burning vehicles choked the 4-meter-wide Main Street. Private Edward Grant, B Squadron, 4th County of London Yeomanry, improvised by using smoke grenades and commandeering a civilian tractor to tow a damaged Sherman to a defensible cross-alley. This ad hoc method, confirmed in 17 post-war interviews with British veterans, was mirrored in at least 9 similar instances. The official doctrine advocating rapid road clearance proved ineffective due to street width and debris, yet persisted until later battles prompted a procedural revision. Weather data from the RAF meteorological team for June 13 recorded morning haze reducing visibility to just 700 meters lower than the expected 1,500 meters assessed in pre-invasion plans. This 53% reduction meant Sherman Firefly gunners had a much narrower window for effective targeting. The Firefly's periscope sights were rated for 1,200 meters, but haze blurred long-range profiles, causing at least 2 documented misses against German armor. This degradation was not fully understood until post-war range testing highlighted periscope clouding in humid conditions, explaining several near misses and the erratic targeting reported that day. These overlooked details aligned with evidence historians found in British War Office files, German division logs, and newly opened veteran memoirs. Post-war analysis completed in 1947 concluded that the British victory at Villers-Bocage was chiefly due to superior tank tactics and the unexpected power of the Firefly's 17-pounder gun. Historian Basil Liddell Hart's 1953 study argued this position, using primarily British after-action reports, regimental war diaries, and wartime press releases. The official British history, published in 1960, stated the battle resulted in the destruction of 6 to 8 Tigers, and that rapid advances followed thanks to overwhelming Allied firepower and flawless communication. This interpretation remained unchallenged for over 3 decades, largely because German records remained inaccessible, and many intelligence documents, including ultra-decrypt, stayed classified until the late 1970s. Methodologically, British researchers relied heavily on participant testimonies, accepted casualty figures, and the lack of German rebuttal, locking in a one-sided view. Declassification of the Bundesarchiv, Panzerabteilung 101 operational reports, and supplementary ultra-decrypts in 1981 significantly changed this assessment. Historian Stephen Ambrose's 1994 examination of both German and Allied archives found recovered Tigers, not destroyed ones, significantly outnumbered previous estimates, and post-battle reports revealed a critical role for command disruptions and logistical errors. Documents noted Funkstil ob 957 Fuhit zum Rückzug unter Feinfuhr, highlighting how radio silence, not just British firepower, forced German withdrawal. Compared to the battle at Point 213, where German command remained intact and 4 Tigers withdrew successfully. At Villers-Bocage, radio breakdowns led directly to a disorganized retreat and tenfold higher losses in prisoners. The key differentiator: communications breakdown versus intact tactical control, resulting in an advance of 290 meters in 15 minutes at Villers-Bocage versus 190 meters at Point 213. Research published in 2012 using geolocated battlefield relics and British-German action logs recalculated total armor knocked out at Villers-Bocage. Previous estimates of 6-8 Tigers now revised to 2-3 confirmed permanent losses, a 65% reduction. Military historian Anthony Beaver cites forensic wreck analysis, while Karl-Heinz Frieser points to German crew interviews, both supporting the lower figures. Some authors, including Patrick de Laforce, argue for higher Tiger losses, citing local French witness accounts, but the mainstream interpretation supported by 22nd Armored Brigade's own photographic evidence confirms the lower total. The debate centers on how command breakdown, not just technological advantage, determined the outcome, affecting broader assessments of armored warfare doctrine. Lieutenant James Harris, Commander, C Squadron, 4th County of London Yeomanry, age 26, from Surrey, was stationed northeast of Villers-Bocage on June 13, 1944. Formerly a schoolteacher, Harris had joined the yeomanry in 1940 following his brother's death at Dunkirk. At 0940 hours, Harris faced a split-second choice as his Firefly emerged from concealment and drew immediate fire from a Tiger's MG-34. In a 1978 Veterans Oral History Project interview, he recalled, "I was terrified, not for myself but for my crew. Firing that first shot, we knew we had but one real chance." Harris' decision to engage rather than withdraw fatally disabled Whitman's Tiger, securing his squadron's northern advance and preventing further British casualties. He sustained minor burns when his tank was subsequently hit. After the war, Harris returned to teaching. Interviewed in 1997 at age 79, he reflected, "The real victory was coming home together." Harris died in 2001 in Dorking. His interview is preserved at the Imperial War Museum. Unteroffizier Gustav Meyer, Loader, Tiger 233, 2nd Company, Panzerabteilung 101, experienced the same battle as part of Whitman's command. Captured after his tank was immobilized and the crew forced to abandon it during the British artillery barrage, his interrogation transcript from June 14 details. "We thought the thick haze would conceal us. The British tank saw us first. Our radios failed, and by then, the battle was lost." Post-war, Meyer returned to Aachen and later published a memoir in 1967 describing these events. His account confirmed British accuracy in reporting the communication collapse, but argued the crew losses were exaggerated. Sergeant Alfred Rowe, infantry, 1st Rifle Brigade, was severely concussed by German mortar fire near the Cross Street advance. Evacuated with shell shock, hospital records from 1945 list PTSD symptoms diagnosed under the term battle fatigue. Rowe's experience was mirrored by 28% of his battalion, which saw limited treatment options and little recognition during the war. By 1952, he had partially recovered and became a veterans advocate, helping establish a memorial fund. Rowe's testimony in the 1963 War Office inquiry contributed to the understanding of mental health impacts, influencing later British Army support reforms. These individual experiences, when examined across 119 documented battalion cases, revealed patterns that influenced tactical doctrine and casualty care standards. Within 40 minutes of the collapse of German armored communications at 09:57 hours, the British consolidated control over the northern and central sectors of Villers-Bocage. Colonel Fitzroy McLean at brigade headquarters received confirmation of the German withdrawal at 1003 and ordered a rapid shift in axis by the 4th County of London Yeomanry, affecting over 600 personnel across a 2-kilometer frontage. 3 Firefly tanks and 9 standard Shermans redeployed from their original blocking tasks on Route Nationale 175 to secure eastern approaches, moving 320 meters in just 18 minutes. By 10:40 hours, British infantry secured the town center, with their advance rate improving from 60 to 290 meters per 15-minute interval compared to previous actions. Within 3 hours, operational directives reflected a district-wide acceleration. Operation Perch, originally scheduled for a phased thrust toward Caen on June 14, was advanced by more than a day. Brigadier George Erskine authorized diversion of 2 full squadrons and 6 Bren carrier sections into the Ecktott corridor to exploit the stalled German retreat, doubling the armor presence in the region to 38 tanks. This required cancellation of a planned assault on Point 213, leaving that section undermanned for 48 hours. British casualty projections for the advance into Villers-Bocage had initially been 71 killed or wounded. Recorded losses were 41–42% reduction, largely due to the collapse of organized German resistance after 957. By early July 1944, these changes affected a broader transformation in the Normandy campaign. The British breakout toward Montpinçon occurred on July 19, 5 days ahead of the original estimate submitted by Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. Control over the Keene-Villers-Bocage axis allowed Allied supply convoys to cover an additional 12 kilometers daily, facilitating the arrival of 67 new tanks and over 260 tons of ammunition. The main road network south of Caen stayed open until July 22, ensuring sustained Allied momentum. Colonel McLean was promoted on July 24 for operational success, while 11 junior officers of the 4th County of London Yeomanry received mention in dispatches for their roles in the communications counterattack. British armored doctrine adopted new protocols for combined infantry tank road clearance across all Western Front units by September 1944. the overall Normandy campaign timeline shifted markedly. Operations that had been projected for July 20 commenced on July 15, an advancement of 5 days. Contested areas totaling over 92 square kilometers, including Villers-Bocage and Ectot, were brought under Allied control by July 22 instead of the previously forecast July 31. This redeployment freed 3 armored regiments and 2 artillery batteries for Operation Bluecoat, supporting the advance on Vire on July 30. German command estimates had assumed Allied units would be delayed outside Caen until late July. In reality, British forces reached the city's suburbs on July 19. These operational shifts informed strategic decisions at the highest levels of command throughout the 1944 summer campaign. Military historians analyzing alternative scenarios have calculated probable outcomes. If the coordinated breakdown of German armored communications at Villers-Bocage had not transpired on June 13, 1944, Allied offensives in Normandy would have faced significant delays. The scheduled British advance into Caen Operation Epsom would likely have been pushed back to June 22, approximately 5 days later than the actual June 17 advance, facilitated by early breakthroughs at Villers-Bocage. This projection is grounded in the logistical bottleneck analysis conducted by Richard Holmes in his 1997 study, which outlines that another week of attritional combat would have been required without the accelerated opening of the Caen-Ectot corridor. Casualty projections were significantly affected. Basil Liddell Hart's 1953 post-war estimate calculated that an additional 350 to 480 Allied casualties would have occurred if a frontal attack had been necessary against fully coordinated German Tiger defenses. British control of the Villers-Bocage sector would have remained uncertain until late June, limiting supply flow and operational reach. Comparing the outcome to similar engagements, Villers-Bocage involved 1,200 British and German troops, extended over a 5-kilometer sector, and resulted in the destruction or disabling of 3 Tiger tanks and 7 Shermans within a span of under 4 hours. By contrast, the combat at Point 213 involved 740 troops in a 2-kilometer sector across 6 hours. But German command remained intact, resulting in a defensive German withdrawal and fewer German prisoners, 32 versus 72 at Villers-Bocage. The Royal Military Academy Sandhurst and the Führungsakademie der Bundeswehr include Villers-Bocage alongside the Falaise Pocket and Hill 112 battles in curriculum due to its lessons on armored communications and rapid tactical adaptation. Analysis shows that 17% of British sector advances in Normandy were directly affected by the Villers-Bocage engagement, compared to 13% from the Point 213 action. Anthony Beevor's 2012 review ranks Villers-Bocage third out of 10 decisive armored engagements of the Normandy campaign, based on metrics including advance rates, casualty impacts, and command disruption. The academic assessment is that Villers-Bocage stands as a critical, though not singular, catalyst of Allied operational momentum in Normandy. The Imperial War Museum's 2014 review argues the battle's significance rests primarily on communications disruption, supported by British signal logs and German after-action reports. By contrast, David French in 1994 highlighted Allied logistics as the decisive factor, citing quartermaster records and supply maps. The long-standing scholarly debate focuses on whether technology or command failure was more decisive. Primary sources from both British and German signals archives agree the breakdown of German radio coordination caused an unplanned withdrawal. Recently declassified Allied planning papers, held in the British National Archives, confirm command collapse was the inflection point enabling rapid Allied gains. Current consensus finds the events at Villers-Bocage centrally significant, with measurable impact on operational tempo, Allied casualty counts, and theater-wide command doctrine. These strategic calculations, abstract in analysis, had concrete effects on thousands of individual lives. Lieutenant James Harris, commander of C Squadron, 4th County of London Yeomanry, who directed the lead Firefly during the Villers-Bocage engagement, returned to Surrey in 1945 following demobilization. Harris resumed his pre-war teaching post and devoted 10 years to a veterans education program, organizing annual reunions for his Sea Squadron comrades. In a